Ne je ne go wo wo be ha den ste. Ne je ne go den go be ha den ste. Hey yana hey 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 yana. Ne je ne go wo wo yoth gwe be ha den ste. Ne je ne go wo wo be ne takis.
أكون شيء عجبي شيء نعيش شؤون كونش أكودي أول بها إسرائيلية شد نو جوي السبب الكانك جو بيخشنا أول جنو يجي على إن ليش ننا هلون أولياء بأكون سن ليش شندا والخارج كيتعيش ولا بشياجة إنشتخا هذا بقول جن بجنو جو إيخد إسات ولا نني إيخد باكنسن أحيانا.
When I hear the phrase "I'll with a bit," I think of when you are out cheering and you're trying to catch one of those last withers, and he flies through the air, headbutts you in the eye, leaves you with a nice bruiser, and then you continue shearing. You get it done. You figure out a way to make it work despite everything that may be mounting against you. That's what I think about. And then you plan the next butchering.
Man, there's a song from Bruce Springsteen, and it's our anthem song, because when we're down and out, I put that song on, and it says there's going to be hard times coming, there's going to be good times coming, but there's also going to be hard times coming. Swing that ball at me, because I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to work hard. I'm going to work as hard as I can to do what needs to be done. It's just being honest and upfront and working your butt off. Bring that wrecking ball on is all I can say, and that's what the word is that. Ne je ne go wo wo yoth gwe be ha den ste. Ne je ne go wo wo be ne takis. Ne je ne go den go be ha den ste. Hey yana hey 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 yana. Ne je ne go wo wo do te be ha den ste.
Hello and welcome everybody. I'm so psyched for today's event, today's segment, Call with a Bib, because we have with us none other than Teddy Draper Jr. with us. And the first time I met Teddy was actually through Martha Jackson, the late Martha Jackson, who was running a business systems class. And of course, I've heard of Teddy. He lives down the road from us in Canyon de Chelly. But the first time I met him, he was giving a lecture in Martha's class. It was a business and a selling practice class. And she really wanted to bring somebody in to stress the realities of being an artist on the reservation. That's really what she wanted to give a really live, honest opinion. And she said, "Christine, can we bring in Teddy Draper?" And I was like, sure, we can bring in whoever you want to bring in. And she's like, "I really want to bring in Teddy Draper." And she's ridiculously adamant about it. So this guy walked in with this little lady next to him, which I learned later was Opie, his wife. And they just gave the best lecture I had seen up until that point, talking about the realities of owning a business on the reservation and being an artist. And my biggest takeaway from that particular experience, just sitting back and listening as, a student, listening as a program manager, listening as a faculty, was learning how to up your game. It's really, when we thought about the title of this series, that's what I was thinking about. That's what we were really trying to drive at home. So I thank Teddy for really starting to instill that with us. He's one of our silversmithing instructors here at the Navajo Cultural Arts Program. So without further ado, Teddy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, out there. My name is Teddy Draper Jr. and I'm Nashkala Diné, and I'm born for Ashina. And my paternal grandparents are Tohidlini, and my Chays are Tudachini. And my father was a former Navajo code talker, and he passed on about 3 years ago. But that's all I ever do anyways, is talk a lot. But thanks for that, Christina. I didn't realize it made an impact on you. But that's me. I'm an artist. I'm also in business. Been in a number of businesses. I've failed a lot in business, but some of my businesses have been successful. And I finally geared down to where I got my business where I'm the only one in the business right now. I've had up to 22 workers in my business before. And now I'm just by myself. And of course, I always need Ophelia. She does all my paperwork. I couldn't survive because I don't know about paperwork. I don't know about putting numbers together. It's the only thing she does for me is that. And then, of course, her craft work is good. And so she brought me some tea a while ago. In a nutshell, you know, you to be an artist and to put food on the table and a roof over your head, you just got to reach out. You got to reach deep within you too. Business-wise, I just told you what I do. I'm in business. My company name now is Diné Art LLC. I went from Diné Galleries Incorporated to Diné LLC. When you have a business name, it totally changes how you are made up as a businessman and an artist. And you'll see then how small the art world really is. When you deal at the same level with art dealers across the world, you will see how small that world is and what you need to do to progress in that world of art. You gotta take care of your money, know how much to invest, how much to put back in, and you know, don't go overboard with your spending, because in the end, when you get older, you're going to realize you didn't really need that Porsche. Well, I think my grandfather was the one that taught me about don't do things in excess or you'll have nothing. And he always mentioned that the never pays a whole yeah, he says the rich man always dresses poor. Then he says the poor man dresses nice, but he has no money. The wisest words I've heard from any of the artists that I've known in the past was what RC told me about 15 minutes a day. He says, Teddy, all you need to do is get into your studio, commit yourself to 15 minutes a day to creating art, whatever you're making, jewelry, painting, sculpture. And maybe someone can pick up from here today anyways, but I think that was pretty cool that he shared that with me. And but I ran the whole thing. I've done expressionism. My main art form is pastels. And in fact, my pastel technique is called the Draper Pastel technique. And it's quite simple to get it down where a beginner can learn it. And if a seasoned artist comes in and wants to learn this technique, they have problems with it because in their mind, they're set in a certain way on how to use pastels. Very hard to break away from that, so they have a harder time. The beginner, I can take little kids and show them this technique, and they'll just blossom. The people that come in from off the reservation, I put together a workshop for groups, and they come in and they really enjoy it. And I enjoy teaching it. But some of the students I have managed to go on to really be successful at selling their art. I remember way back about 25 years ago, I had a student. Her name was Beverly Carrick. She became very well known. Well, since then, Beverly has moved on into the spirit world, but her paintings are still around. They're very beautiful paintings. And I have other students that to this day are still doing good with their art, and they enjoy the painting with the pastel technique I have. But I really like pastel, but I also enjoy painting with watercolors. Watercolors has always been a challenge, especially on a hot day. You got to know what you're doing when you're doing watercolors on a hot day. But I've managed to do pretty well with watercolors. My favorite watercolor artist I really enjoy his work. I really enjoyed him as my cousin, my older brother, my uncle. He was like everything wrapped up in one. And I used to watch him do watercolors, and it was just fantastic. I mean, he had nothing, no references. He would just say, I want to do this, and I want to put it down. He get some paper, watercolors, and start painting away. And when he was finished, oh man, I tell you, the paintings he made were like, they weren't realistic, but they really captured your eye and had all the elements of a fine painting. And that was Robert Draper. Robert passed away, I think, over 20 years ago now. But I can still see him painting. I can still see him talking about what he wants to do, how he wants to do it. And the thing with Robert was he was never really formally trained. And that just boggles my mind, because some of the art he used to produce was fantastic. And he was very prolific. He could pull out like 7 paintings a day, not think nothing of it, do 7 the next day. I've learned a lot from of painting watercolors from Robert Draper. Also, the pastel technique that I have comes from Robert. I owe Robert a lot, because I remember one time we were so broke, we needed to make some money, but we didn't have any paints and no pastels. But there was a set of Connie crayon, maybe black, gray, umber, burnt sienna, and a white. And there was a yellow one there. Connie crayons are hard. They're like greasy sticks. And so we decided, well, let's make a painting so we can go sell it. So we started working with it. We didn't have any fixative. So we tried using Ruby's hairspray. I don't know if you ever found out we used her hairspray, but the colors would splotch. So Robert put down some white onto the board and then put the color over it, and it held pretty good. So we kind of did a miniature, and he sprayed it, and it held its color. So what I did was I took the paper I had, and I filled the whole thing with water, with white. He goes up by sections, little sections at a time. I had one pretty decent one. Of course, Robert needed, but that technique, it came out of necessity. So actually, don't ever overlook necessity, because when times are hard, you don't have something that you need, that you're trained to need in history. So being an artist, think of that opportunity. Always there. I know another artist didn't have someone about watercolor, and he remembered somebody was using yucca brushes. The painters, like the pottery painters. So he fashioned the brush out of yucca. And boy, he does really nice watercolors with the yucca brush. And that's Elmer Yazzie. He's from Rehoboth. He teaches there at the high school. Another good friend of mine. I learned a lot from Elmer too. One of the main things is maintaining your cool. I kicked Elmer one time. He smiled. I said, I must have heard. But he smiled. He says, she needs to get it out of her system. And so he limped away, but he wasn't mad. So he taught me a lot about that, my friend Elmer, about holding your temper, holding your mouth. Don't say things you don't really need to say. And in the art world, that's so important. You have to know when to say what, if you want to be a success. Once you become to a certain point, then it's all right to go out and make something that's make some conversation that's sensible. I've always listened to my students too. Lyndon Sothey comes to mind. He's sounding really good. He's got some good philosophy behind his work and behind himself and who he has become. His share of downfalls, but he came through it, and now he shines. And a number of other artists, I think Lyndon was on this feed here earlier. But I don't know. I was asked to do an interview to talk here, so I came here, and now I'm talking your ears off. I see Christine's ears starting to turn red there, and I don't know if you have any questions, Christine?
No, it's always good to listen to you, because you never know what's going to what kind of stories are going to come up. But yeah, I guess, one of the things that we have been very fortunate to have on this particular program, several individuals who have, discussed you as an influence. So it's really great to hear, those individuals who have influenced you as well. And I guess one of the things that we're interested in is, when did you first realize that you were good at painting, that this was something that could take you someplace? When did that take place?
Well, I've always done painting and drawing, and I remember back then how the old people used to say, "Don't do that. Only crazy person marks on the earth around things. Don't do that." And so, but I did it, because being young, like I said, I grew up in Brigham City, and it was a different environment. But when you come home, the old people, they say these things. And it was kind of like, should I or should I not? But I like drawing horses. I love horses. The first thing I did coming home was grab a halter and run after the horses. And I did that all summer, to ride horses. But so I drew a lot of horses. I knew I was good at it. I didn't really think I was that good until high school. I went to art class, and my art instructor was really amazed at my capabilities at drawing animals and people. And she put some paints in front of me, and I used paints. And of course, I had other influences too. Growing up, my dad had a studio. Him and Alan Hauser had a studio up in Brigham City. Both of them taught at the Intermountain Indian School. So I had Alan Hauser, Robert Draper, Robert Chu, my dad. My dad was quite an artist himself. And also I got to meet Quincy DeHoma, the mysterious Quincy DeHoma, many years ago. I still have that picture in my mind. A guy in a black suit, had a vest on, had a bolo tie on, and he had a hat, silver hat band. And he had black boots. Just standing in the doorway when he came to the guys' studio one day. That's the only time I ever saw him. I said hi, and that was it. But the impression was there. My dad and Alan Howard talked with him for about 2 hours. And these are the influences I had. But as I grew along, I didn't realize how well I could do things in art. Yes, it wasn't that I sat down and said, I want to do a painting. It's going to be the greatest thing in the world. I had quite a path in my life. I ended up at Ganado Mission High School. And I had a teacher there. His name was Larry Geller. I always remember him, good man. And I had a pretty rough weekend. And I came to class Monday morning. I didn't feel like doing anything. And he said, we're going to do a painting today. I want you guys to all do a painting. We're going to send this down to the Arizona schools, whatever, art contests. And so he put a paper in front of me. And I told him, hey, Geller, I don't feel like painting today. I don't feel like doing anything. He said, well, just put something on paper and just get it over with, okay? Oh, he put the paper in front of me, and there was 3 colors: blue, a magenta, and a lighter blue, and a brush. And so I sat there and I looked at it and said, what do I do with these 3 colors? Well, at the school in Ganado Mission, they have those little windows all over, a lot of windows. And they came in and the shadows dissected the paper in a certain way. And just to do something, I dipped paint in one paint and made a line following the frame of the window outside. And then I filled in a certain spot and put a leaf in there, a tree, filled it in. And it took me all of maybe 10 minutes. And I got the paper and I said, here, Geller, finished. Gave it to him. He grabs it. Oh, that's so beautiful. I said, yeah. But that was so strange because that wasn't something I planned. And school was over with, and I was down in Rough Rock. In the summertime, I was working down there. I got a call from the high school that I had some mail at the high school. And so my dad and we went up to the high school. They had an envelope about so big. And I didn't know what it was, and got in the car and opened it up. And there was that painting that I made in Geller's class. I said, wow, why would they send that back? Then I looked in there again, there was a ribbon. I had taken the first award, and then there was a check. I don't remember what it was, 35 or something like that, $35. But then with the money and with the award, I thought, well, maybe I have a future. So, the way you become an artist, I think, is to realize that I didn't realize I was good. I just realized that there's money to be made. Of course, back then, it was money was hard to come by. So I kind of got that idea that maybe if I improve more, I can maybe make some money at being an artist. So I switched from going to a regular college, and I went to the American Academy of Art in Chicago. And boy, will I tell you, the influences there were tremendous. I met some great artists. The instructors were professionals themselves. And of course, my classmate was Jimmy Abeda. When you have Jimmy Abeda as your classmate, you got it made. His influence was so strong and so direct that I didn't even need to lift the brush. He was there, boom, the paintings would explode right there on their own. And Jimmy became a good friend. He's still a good friend of mine. And Sammy Sandoval was there, Fred Cleveland. And these are some of the guys that have made it in the art world. And of course, Ellis Yazzie, she became a great artist. And later on, Gary Yazzie went there too. So we all have that little influence from the American Academy of Art in Chicago. Chicago was a good place back then. Yeah, it's been a few rough nights in a certain place, but it was cool. Got to meet Muhammad Ali too. Got his autograph back then. Just after he changed his name to Muhammad Ali, we got his autograph. Those kind of things that come to mind is all these things that happen in life are not by chance. I remember Muhammad Ali telling us about how we have to stand up for ourselves as Native Americans. we were walking through the Palmer house, and there was a group of people over here. And that's what we do. We walk through the Palmer house near our school from one street to the other. And as we were walking through, somebody called us and said, "Hey, you boys." And we turned around, was that us? I said, "Yeah, come here." So we walked over, and he said, "You boys aren't from here, are you?" I said, "No, we're from Arizona." He said, "I figured that. You look like Arizona Navajos, are you?" He says, "Yeah, we're Navajo, but this guy's an Apache. He's also Arizona Apache." And so there was 4 of us. And he talked to us about being Native American, how important it is to be happy being that and being proud of it. So he gave us his signatures on a card. I don't know what happened to the one I had, but I remember our other friend Lee, he said he still has it. And Ernie Victor, he passed away in 2012. He said he still had his back then, so I don't know where that is at either. So we, your life is, all these little experiences come together. And when you go back in life, you recall these things, and you don't think it was that significant when you were going through that. And I remember when I first started painting again to make a living, how hard it was to sell even a small painting. How hard it was to get gas to get to a show, let alone pay for the booth fee, and now you look back and you say, wow, at the time, I thought it was just an incident in life. But you look back and you say, wow, those were time-changing experiences that happened to this guy. I was going to say this little guy, but kind of I like to eat, But anyways, what can I say? You work hard, you be aggressive, control your temper, take care of your money. Then you get to a point where satisfaction is there. Now you paint, you make jewelry, really to satisfy your soul. So that's where I'm at now. I'm finished trying to prove somebody's better than me, and they usually were. I was trying to prove I was better than everybody else. In art, there's no competition. The competition is yourself. No matter how good you are today, no matter how good the other artist that you might be complaining about, doesn't make you any better tomorrow, and doesn't make him any better tomorrow. You're still there. Your competition is yourself. So each day you got to confront yourself and tell yourself, we're going to be better tomorrow. Whatever that means, it's there. So I do that every day. I make sure that I'm better. And so that's kind of like the story about what I could give you as, when did you know you were good? Right now, I finally know.
I like the way that you talk about your competitor being yourself, because a lot of the things when we speak to artists and they pull up Teddy Draper's name, one of the things that actually has been quite synonymous with these experiences and these individuals that we have spoken with is the overcoming of substance abuse, and how you have been so pivotal in these artists and their recovery and their constant struggles against substance abuse. And so one of the things that we were kind of interested in is if you could talk to us about, your own experiences with that and how that helped to give you, right, this place in which people did not only felt safe with their stories that they were giving you, but they also trusted your advice. So I was hoping that you would be able to kind of enlighten us a little bit on that.
Well, substance abuse for me was every substance that can be abused, I've used. And I've been places. I've been there, so to speak. And I remember the last time I drank was January 16, 1983. And I remember how sick I got afterwards. And I remember how the holy people took care of me for the next 24 hours, because I know I was going into delirium tremens. You can tell when it's happening. But that was kept at bay. And I ended up in a rehab in Tuba City. And I spent 45 days. At the end of 45 days, I was going to leave, but then I decided to give myself another 45 days. So in 1983, in the May of 1983, I came back into this world with nothing but the boots I had on. I think it was like 2 holes on one side, and the other one had a pretty big hole in it, you know, and I was penniless. I didn't have any money. So I came home here to Del Muerto, and I stayed in my dad's large house they were building at the time. And my dad always helped me out with groceries. And I kind of felt like it's not where I'm supposed to be. And so it was very difficult. You know, there's no income. And every time I tried to go out to get a job, people would say, hey, we don't hire winos. We don't hire people that are drunks. So you got those things working against you. And one day I decided to make some drawings. I didn't have no paper, but in the corner was a stack of these white cards that they use to separate pastry, like donuts and not donuts, but you know, hostess cupcakes and that. My brother-in-law ran a little trading post out of his bus, and he had a bunch of these on there that he didn't throw away. But I took 3 of them, and I couldn't find a pencil. But then there was this old carpenter pencil laying with the tools, and I sharpened it. No eraser. So I sat down, and I started doing a drawing. Made these little drawings. I did 3 of them. They looked decent, you know. I took them down to the Park Service in Chinle. Well, the thing that I had to do that for was because they turned off my lights. I had a $7 bill, and they turned out my lights. And I went out there, boy, I was all mad at the guy. And he said, Teddy, I'm sorry, but it's my job. I'd have to do it. And so what happened was, that's why I started doing something to find money. So I did those drawings, went down. I think I sold them for about $4 each, which came out to about $12. And I went down to NTUA, and I slammed down my $7 or my lights back on. And the girl there, she just kind of like this. Oh, Mr. Draper, she goes, you paid your bill, but we can't turn it back on. I said, why? I paid my bill. He says, there's he kind of goes, there's a $10 reconnect fee. I said, what? He said, a $10 reconnect fee. So I kind of really was pretty angry, but I walked back down. That time Garcia's was still a trading post. It wasn't the Holiday Inn. I stepped in there and I bought me some soda, half a dozen eggs, and you know, some things. I would like a loaf of bread, and then I hitchhiked home, and my lights were back on, and I cooked me up some eggs and had it with some bread and had a Coke. And you know, that was the first time I ever bought myself anything. Worked for it, got the money, and bought myself sensible. And so I figured that might be the way. So that night I sat down, I did 4 more drawings. And I think I upped my price this time to $6 each. So I went down and sold it within the first 15 minutes. And then, boy, I marched down to NQA again, paid my reconnect fee. By that time, I was back. I mean, I had to go back 2 times. So I got it paid and I went home, and it was on then. The first time I just went back in the dark. But I went home and it was on. And so I'm okay by then. I find out there's some kind of worth to what I'm doing. And the next time was, it was hard too, because I kept going to AA. AA didn't mean too much to me, but it was my grandfather that came to me one night and talked to me about who I am as a Navajo person, and talked to me about the holy people, how we are amazing, and the things that we say is very important, that they're spiritual, they're very sacred. And he says, when you go to this room to talk with people, he said, you shouldn't call yourself an alcoholic. He says, when you say I'm alcoholic, you have to start all over again. You're just making yourself an alcoholic. So he said, I'll be back in the morning. Oh, he came back in the morning, I'll tell you, real early too. Sun wasn't even up. Well, we went up on top of the hill and we prayed, and I had a certain prayer about how I thank alcohol. He showed me about how to thank alcohol, how to thank the things that have happened to me, because it taught me a lot. And alcohol was my brother. I can't deny him, because he'll always be here. But he, along the prayer, I asked my brother alcohol to walk on that side of the river. I'll be on this side of the creek, and that we will always see each other, but we'll never cross the creek. We can't cross the creek, so we will be friends forever. So we came off that hill after we did the pollen, came down. Never had an urge to drink ever since that, completely. After that, I could go in a bar, I could be where people are drinking. It would not bother me. And when I have people that are drinking in my family, it's more of a situation than a drunk fight going on. I know how to handle it better. So that came by, and I still help people. Though I said, if anybody needs help with their substance abuse, I'll be willing to help however way I can. But the thing to do about those kind of things is being proactive. And I know that our community back about 30 years ago, we didn't have anything proactive. And there one time I went to the chapter meeting, and they were talking about getting this big youth center built and making sure they don't, punishing the kids, and that just didn't go with me. So I told them there that you guys are on the wrong track. We need to provide something for the kids so they don't have to go out and be doing that stuff. So the next day I went to the church, talked to the pastor. I told him I need a key to that place. He said, what are you going to do with it? I said, I'm going to play basketball with the kids. He said, fine. Gave me the key. Went over, opened the gym. After that, basketball became my life after that. Kids learning. And I started refining my skills as a coach. Took a long time, maybe 20 years. But, working with young people is what really sobered me up. It made me a solid, a solid community member that is concerned about the youth, about our abuse of substances. And also, we have a lot of kids with just all kinds of problems. And you give them something fun to do, they're not going to go out and do the other stuff. So we've done that, me and Opie, for about 35 years now. We've had about 3 national championships. And we don't tell anyone, it's just something that we did. And we have numerous championships in AAU, YBOA, The latest one, I think we had a championship at Navy with the high school guys. That was fun. I mean, you go into a gym at 8 in the morning, you play all day, rushing around town, and you end up at the University of Phoenix gym, and you're in there until about 10 o'clock, and you step out and you have this giant trophy with you. You don't know how many games you've been played or where you've been. Yeah, it's a tremendous experience. But it's been good. Life is good. As long as we take life in a positive way, we're cool.
Yep. No, and you talk about being a solid community member, and it's one of the reasons, well, I guess one of the reasons why we wanted you to be part of the Navajo Cultural Arts program, not only because of the introduction that we had through Martha, but seeing your willingness to let anybody come in and work with you in your studio. Now, obviously, this was pre-COVID, but the welcoming of people to your buffing wheel, right? You want to learn how to do jewelry, fine. Come test this out. Come make these bezels for me. Come buff this jewelry out for me, and just the open door. And we see the way that you that type of kid to your own class. So maybe you might talk about what to you to be able to teach these. It's not easy. It's not easy by any means, especially now that we're in this distant learning realm. But what has silversmithing to students?
Pardon?
What has it? What do you get out of teaching silversmithing to students at Diné College?
There's a lot of positive, too many positives, I mean.
A lot of negatives too, but that's that gives you challenges.
The thing is that there's I guess enhancing the life of other people. We all got to live in this world together. And if there's any kind of influence I can bring about on other people to be better to themselves, to be better the way they want to be, then our world's a little better in this corner anyways. And also, hey, there's nothing wrong with being an artist. If you're good enough and you got your nose to the grindstone, you can make a living off of it. You may not be one of the greatest and most affluent artists around, but you make a living at it, you make your car famous, and it's cool. It's a fun thing to do. Also, you never know, you might hit the big time. We know some of our own here are big time. I certainly look up to Vernon all the time. Vernon Haskey, Jesse Menangi. These two are personal friends of mine, and I've watched their ascension through the step ladder of being artists, and I admire them. Lyndon Sophie the same way. I've seen him. I've seen him where he was struggling, and now he's doing really well. Craig Agudi, Beverly Black Sheep, my friend, and those kind of things. So it enhances your life so much when you enhance others. And there's nothing wrong. I have a studio back there. Nobody's using the grinding wheel right now. Step in. Let me teach you how to take care of the grinding wheel. Then you can use it all you want. I'm sure within the next 10 years, I'll be 70, 82 years old. I'm sure I'm not going to wear that machine down like that, that quick. I'm too old now. Same thing with the material I have. If you need something, come on over. Let's figure out what we can do to supply you some material. I mean, I'm glad to trade a few small pieces of some really nice turquoise. If you know how to trim hooves on a horse, or if you know how to shear sheep, we can do some business. And incidentally, a lot of artists do that for us. It's fun. Life is good. And I enjoy it. And I enjoy teaching. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. So I figured I'll do one semester. And then it was okay. Then I said, well, I'll do another semester. And then COVID hit, and boy, we were in trouble. But along the way, the curves got smaller. They got a little more straighter. And I think we know a little bit more about online teaching now than we did last year. I mean, especially for the Navajo Arts program. It's come a long ways. And it's not as stressful. I wish our students wouldn't get tired of online, but I think they got a little bit tired on it. And they'll be back, they'll be back. I expect that within a week, they'll be back. They'll be back to performing. I'm positive.
Guys, if you're in Teddy's classes, make sure you get your assignments in. It's been really great working with you through COVID, right? This is obviously something we didn't expect. And trying to figure out, and we're just constantly troubleshooting. And I think that's been one of the things I'm really appreciative of, working with you and Tanabanatani and Lyndon and Velma, that we hit these giant speed bumps sometimes that we don't think that we can overcome. But if we can just think of ways to troubleshoot, then maybe we might not be able to fix it immediately, but then we can try and figure it out again, right? Try harder the next time, which brings us to one of the last questions that I have. Zephyrin says he's going to get his work in. And Lyndon says hi, by the way. It brings us to our last question that we have for today anyways, is that phrase, when you hear that phrase, or what does that mean to you?
What was that phrase again?
Or Tawasebe.
Oh, okay. I didn't wear my hearing aid. It's just like for me, when my grandma and grandfather used to say that, it's their way of saying that there's going to be a time. If you don't learn and you don't push yourself hard now, there won't be anybody around to reinforce this in you anymore. And I believe they were talking about themselves, and their teachings won't be there anymore. So, self-discipline. So when you get older, or when you're going to move along in life, you're going to push yourself, or you don't even need to push yourself, because you will already be ready to do what needs to be done. I think is what it means for myself.
Thank you, Teddy, so much for joining us. I can't wait to see you in person again and say hi to Ophi and just watch you guys work. It's been a wonderful. I'm just so glad and grateful to have you on board in the program. So I wanted to say thank you. And if you have any closing remarks that you might have for any of our up and coming artists, now would be the time to share that.
Well, all I can say is, you just gotta keep positive, keep looking for that design. And when you do find that design, just keep in mind that design was probably done 4,000 years ago. So if you were to claim it, it wouldn't be cool. Just keep the design, make it work for you, and stay out of politics of art. Create art and stay out of the politics. You'll be okay. And again, get a business going. Doesn't take much. Doesn't take much at all. Ask Lyndon, ask any of the number of artists I've worked with, they all got their businesses going. Carlin does. Carlin's got a business, yeah. So that's about it, you know. Keep working, designing, take life easy, and work hard. What else can I say?
Well, you will continue to say, because like I said, I love stopping by. I miss stopping by your house. We always make sure that we block out a tremendous amount of time so we can sit down and talk. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and sign off of our Call with the Best series. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, Teddy. Thanks, Crystal, who's over in Del Muerto. Ophi, we heard you. Thank you for joining in with us. And we will be back in 2 weeks with a really unique segment to this series. We're bringing together all 4 of our previous Navajo Cultural Arts program best of show winners. So every year we've been hosting a juror exhibit, and we took last year off because we transitioned all of our energies into figuring out the distance learning, but we are back this year, and we're going to be hosting 40 spots as part of this juror competition that's going to be hosted on the Native American Art Magazine online website, and we'll make sure that we get that out to you guys. But in 2 weeks, we'll be joined by our 4 previous best of show winners to kind of talk about the significance of the program, where they are today, what Tawathabem means to them, and to really take a look at what the future of Navajo cultural arts holds for not just Diné College, but for Navajo people in general. So we hope that you guys can join us in 2 weeks at 3 o'clock. And our Navajo Cultural Arts Week events will start next Monday. I believe it's April 19th. If you jump onto our website at www.navajoculturalartsprogram.org, you can get a listing of all of our online activities. We have online workshops going on that are hosted by our Navajo Cultural Arts students. We have the exhibit taking place. We have a panel taking place. There's felting workshops, silversmithing workshops. So make sure that you guys check out that website and get signed up for any of those workshops that we have that'll be hosted through our Facebook closed groups. So we'll be seeing you guys in 2 weeks. Have a great day. And once again, thanks, Teddy, for joining us.
Thank you.
Ne jana ko wo be ha den ste. Ne jana ko digin go be ha den ste. Hey yana